Welcome back to the Stephen Knight Show. Adam, how's it going in DC?
It's going great in DC. We're getting some. It's still cold, but it was supposed to be in the mid to late 70s this Thursday. So we are ready to get out of this spring slump.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's beautiful weather here. It rained most of the weekend, but yesterday it was nice, and this week's supposed to be high 60s, low 70s. So
Perfect, perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited.
yeah. I'll let y'all take away movie reviews.
Yeah, sure
And I
thing.
can't
So,
wait to talk about Love is Blind. So go ahead, I'll let y'all.
oh, of course. Well, since I missed last week, I wanted to talk about the big movie, in my opinion, of last week, which was Dune Part Two. So this is finishing Denis Villeneuve or Denis Villeneuve's vision of the Dune book by Frank Herbert. And if anyone remembers, we saw Part One back, I guess, right, like around the pandemic, kind of setting up the storyline of this sci-fi epic. And Timothy Chalamet plays the main character as Paul Atreides, and Zendaya plays kind of the love interest in the story. So part two is more action packed. This is kind of, finishing the first book, and it's Paul. We left him in the desert, kind of with his mom trying to figure out what to do after basically his whole house was eradicated by a rival family, a rival house, and how he goes through the path of uniting the people of the planet to fight kind of the big families and the emperor in the end. I don't want to kind of go into too much because not much spoilers, but this is a complicated book. It's a complex movie as well. There's a lot of layers, there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of characters that you should pay attention to. So, for the sake of our audience, I'm not going to go into all those details. But what I will say is this was great. Highly enjoyed it. It is over 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or something like that, but it didn't feel like that. They did a great job. Not only with the action, but kind of setting up that magnificent scale of the planet, the sandworms, the action. And I know I mentioned that already, but I just there's a scene where Paul is trying to ride a sandworm, and I think it's probably one of the best scenes of the movie of really giving you that like intensity of what he's doing on this planet. So I don't know if Chike, you talked about it last week at all, if I'm being redundant, but this movie, yeah, it hit all the high marks for me.
Yep. Was that it? That the only one you saw?
So that's the only film I saw. I did start watching Shogun, which you've anyone's heard about this? It's a new FX series following kind of the late 1500, early 1600s Japanese kind of families that are going on, and we follow the character of this British guy who's kind of come to Japan, and historically the Spanish and the Portuguese kind of put not a stranglehold, but they've kind of monopolized that region of the world and doing working with the Japanese for trade. And so this Englishman arrives at a time when there's a death in the kind of the emperor or whatever the hierarchy is, and there's a lot of warring families that are about to kind of get involved with what's going to happen. So it's billed as kind of like the next Game of Thrones. Too early to tell for that, but so far it's really good. I mean, again, it's building into those deep stories. It's building into kind of what's going on in the world at this time and the nuances with the Japanese culture and how they're going to navigate with this new arrival of the British and, of course, the Europeans coming to the island and how to interact with them. So that's the only other thing I saw, and then, of course, the Oscars.
Okay. Well, today must be Timothy Chalamet Day because I saw Wonka, and Wonka was pretty refreshing. It was pretty good. Timothy Chalamet, Hugh Grant, and Olivia Colman star. It's basically a Wonka origin story. We find out where Willy Wonka comes from and his humble beginnings to become the world premiere chocolatier. The only disappointing thing for me about it all was that they used Hugh Grant as a Oompa Loompa. Not that I have a problem with Hugh Grant, but I would have loved to seen some small people in the film, like they did in the original Wonka. They need a check too. They need jobs too. So why not, put them to work? I mean, this the role was originated by small people.
Hmm.
Have it continue. Hopefully, when you do more in the future, please look to the small community and employ them. But other than that, it was great. The music was great. The cinematography was great. The sci-fi was great. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I think children would love it too. Um, and I think that it's good if you would watch them in succession of one another. Um, the Johnny Depp one is a great one too, but it's just a retelling of the Gene Wilder version.
Hmm.
So to me, I like the Gene Wilder version better than the Johnny
Yeah.
Depp version. It's just my opinion. But definitely check it out. It was good to watch.
Did any of the songs get stuck in your head, or any really like some
From the
things you
new one,
recognize? Yeah.
no, not
Okay.
not so much. But that Oompa Loompa song will never go away. That never goes away.
Oh yeah, it lives in our brains forever.
Yes. The next film that I saw is streaming on Amazon Prime, and it's called Ricky Stenicki, and it is starring Zac Efron, John Cena, Andrew Santino, and Jermaine Fowler. This movie was hilarious. It made me laugh out loud. So basically, there are three guys and their friends, and they come up with this alter ego for whenever they need a scapegoat when they're in trouble. And they blame it on this guy named Ricky Stenicki. And over the years, Ricky Stenicki grew into this entity that they created. I mean, to the point where they even gave him a Instagram page. So he has his own life. They create a backstory for him and everything, just so that they are able to utilize him when they need him in their adult life. And listen, they were on point with their storyline. They created a whole Bible based off of the things that he has done over the years and his accomplishments, so that he has a backstory for his validity. And then it gets to a point where they run into a dead end and they actually need a physical manifestation of Ricky Stenicki. And they run into John Cena. Again, I laughed out loud. I laughed out loud. It's insane. It's one of those buddy comedies, but at the same time, it's buffoonery at its best. John Cena, say what you want about him. Um, he's found his niche. The Peacemaker is hilarious with him in it. Um, there was another film that he was in with the vacation couples vacation, I
Hmm.
think it's called. He's hilarious in that. So he's found his niche. This is where he's perfect. Um, Definitely check this out. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. I guarantee you'll laugh too.
Yeah, I will.
And
I'll say I watched the trailer and I was gonna watch that next, but I didn't
yeah,
get a chance to this weekend. But it did look hilarious, and it looks, yeah. I mean, again, if anyone's on the fence, go watch the trailer on Amazon Prime. It'll convince you. This
mhm.
movie, it just looks like a fun time.
And William H. Macy guest stars, and he is hilarious
Yes,
as well. And I love to see him in comedy because he's such a brilliant actor that he anything that he does, it falls. And his part is like
yes.
perfect. Do you
All
want to talk
right.
about the Oscars at all, or Steven, do you want to jump
Yeah.
to?
No, I want you all to talk about Dawson. Yeah.
Yeah, well, speaking of John Cena, he went out naked on stage. I thought that was a hilarious bit. They did a good
Someone
job with.
said, someone said I watched another show and they said they're bringing Ratchet to nice places. I'm tired of that.
That's funny. Yeah, so I will say this. I had a feeling Oppenheimer was gonna win a lot of stuff. I was fine with that. I mean, it wasn't the best picture in my opinion, but you know what? It's a tough field actually. There was a lot of great movies here. But I think everything went well. I think the biggest upset, of course, was Lily Gladstone. I think that's everyone's talking about that, how Emma Stone won it over her. I
Mhm.
haven't seen either of the films actually, Killers of the Flower Moon or Poor Thing, so I can't make a judgment call there. But from what I saw, everything else tracked, and the I'm Ken performance was fun from
Mhm.
Ryan Gosling, and
Yeah.
even the little banter between the kind of the hosts when they like could come and talk to each other was fun. So besides being like 3.5 hours long, and I did watch like half of it and then I had to move on to other things. Yeah, I it was an enjoyable show and kind of it went on track.
Yeah. I kind of
And a lot of
predicted that
people,
Oppenheimer would do that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Stephen. Go ahead. Go ahead.
They said a lot of people like the fact that they had the previous winners present, show up for the nominees because usually when you have the category, they said they hadn't done it in 15 years. Usually, they just announce the winner, and that's really the rest of the nominees don't really get any shine. But because they're recognized by the other winners, the previous winners, it kind of gave them a little bit more of a.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I'd love to see like a runner-up or like second place because I'm just curious. Like did Oppenheimer win by just one vote, two votes? Like, I'm wondering how split sometimes these decisions are,
Right.
and really like how you can kind of get maybe what else was out there in the situation.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. We're gonna say
I don't,
Chike.
I don't have anything else to add.
Okay.
It was kind of predictable though. Like I kind of predicted that Oppenheimer would be the big winner because
Yeah.
of the type of film that it was and what it represented. And if you remember, if you go back to years ago when Schindler's List was in the running, it was kind of like the same thing. It was that iconic film that spoke about a period of time, and it swept. It swept.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, well, Love is Blind. So they had it was the season, well, the finale, I guess. They have a reunion coming on this week, I believe. But there are three couples. They were still in the running to get married. And it was Chelsea and Jimmy, which I thought they were both crazy. Like their relationship was crazy. Like it seemed just toxic. You know what I mean? First of all, Chelsea was so annoying. That's the one that I told him that she liked Megan Fox, or people said she liked Megan Fox. So they ended up breaking up um before they got to the aisle because he had trusted her with because he has two close female friends that she's met. They all got along, but he told her off camera that him and one of the girls slept together years ago, but they're friends. And she brought it up on camera. And he said that's when he lost respect for her because it not only impacts him, but impacts her, because she had nothing to do with the show, really. You know what I mean? So they broke up. But okay, I'll get back to that. Then Johnny and Amy, they were um uh they were an interracial couple. She's Hispanic, he's white. And she was saying when she first met him that she had never dated white guys. She were like ethnic guys, but they were so you knew they were getting married. You knew they were getting married and they got married. And their families, they just seen them all together celebrating. They both it was like, wow, this actually worked. But they got married. And the one that I was rooting for, AD and Clay, they're a black couple. Clay told the reason why I was rooting for them because AD she would seem like she's such a supportive girlfriend and would be a supportive wife. And Clay was someone who was used to being kind of a player, but he wanted to get married. And he was saying that he's never seen a successful marriage. His parents were married 24 years, but his dad used to cheat on his mom, and he would even take him with them sometimes. And so, but he kept pumping himself up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And he got to the altar and he said it would be responsible for him to do it. And you could just see him, his mom, she said she supported every decision he made. And, his dad was there as well. But they were saying the mom was the real star, his mom, because, there was a conversation between his mom and his dad, who they're not together anymore. And he said the reason why he said no is because of what he saw in our marriage. And the dad tried to have a moment. He got teary-eyed and he said, "Yeah, but it led me to you." She said, "Yeah, it led you to me, but you didn't do me right. And so you need to have a conversation with your son to break that cycle." But it was just the way she did it, and she didn't do it rude. She didn't do and she said there are things that I learned during this show that I didn't know that you did because he would vent to his mom about his fear of getting married. But anyway, so they didn't get married, but they were recently spotted together because she said when they were leaving the show that she said that if he didn't want her, then she wasn't gonna be with him. But they were recently spotted together at a bunch of friends and family, and then Clay and Jimmy, the one that I said that seemed like they were toxic. They were recently spotted together as well in Florida. So we'll see what happens. Reunion comes on this week, but I mean, I really, I Clay's dad told him right where if you don't feel like it's that you're prepared to get married, don't do it. And I think that's true. You know what I mean? Because really they only know each other a few months. You know what I mean? And he was saying I need more therapy, I need counseling. I'm not saying I don't want to be with you. I'm just not ready to get married. But I think it was more so because she was probably embarrassed because everybody was there, their family and their friends and everything. But it's a good show. I could definitely not be on this show, but it's a good
Yeah.
show.
I mean, they're surrounded by cameras. They got to be used to some of this. Like, something's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
So,
but oh, I was rooting for them, and she looked so devastated when she left when she was walking out. But
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure. So is it finished now or is there still
well, it's the reunion to see where
uh
because they tape it. I think it's usually a year, and then a
mhm.
year later they meet up, and that's when they kind of see where things stand. But
Yeah,
because
that makes
sometimes like people that didn't get married or they end up hooking up, people that were in the pods as well because you're seeing each other as the
e-
season goes on. Yeah, so we'll
exactly.
see what
Yeah.
yeah.
Exciting, exciting. And I guess did you get to watch the Lee Fields documentary?
I didn't. I need to. I started to watch it. It was longer than I thought it would be, and I didn't have time to. But it looked. I saw the trailer, and then reading up on, it, especially doing the interview with those two ladies. I definitely want to see it
Yeah, yeah.
because he was someone who, he hit his career early on, like in the 60s, 70s, I believe, or 50s,
Hmm.
60s, and then it went down because music changed. It went to disco era,
Yep.
like 70s, 80s, and he thought his career was over, and then it was a resurgence in the 2010s, and he to this day he's still making music, and people are loving. He has multi-generational fans.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting the revival and I mean we see that with hip hop throughout history, but like, playing samples, playing musics, but
Yeah.
like his music, like he's got some really good hits and like
Mhm.
it's been, they played it in episodes of Atlanta, they played it in episodes of even American Dad. Like they've pulled in a lot of his music
Yeah.
over the decades, and it's like, yeah, it's still good, and he's going on tour. So if you're
Yeah.
ready to see him, because he lives in New Jersey right now, just kind of living the quiet
Mhm.
life, but
Mhm.
you could tell he like loves to perform. So
Yeah. And
yeah, yeah,
what's surprising to me is that they worked on this project for a decade. A
yeah.
decade. And so I asked them in the interview, I said, well, what did you learn about yourselves doing this film? But they already had impressive backgrounds, but it was interesting. So if you heard the interview in our last one, if not, go back on our YouTube channel. But it was a
Yep.
good interview. Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you as always. Letting us know what to spend our money and time on, what not to, and have a great week.
All right.
We'll be right
Thanks.
back after this.